everyone, here I am just outside the kitchen here at the hospice. I just wish to do a quick video before my next gardening tips, just to show you the seedlings we'd sown a few weeks ago, just so you can see kind of how well they are germinating. Some very intermittently, others much more than some. Seeds can take anything for 7 to 28 days to germinate, so do give them time, ensuring you water them when it's dry and giving them plenty of light. They will show for you. So in a few weeks we'll have plenty to pot on and lots more plants ready for the winter and for spring next year. As you can see, right, now on to the main video. So here I am now in the greenhouse, and as stated, I'm going to give you some points and tips on potting on your seedlings. So giving you tips on at what point you should be doing that and how to go about it. Seeds, when they germinate, generally just have 2 seed leaves, which I don't know if you can see here. These 2 here have got just 2 leaves. They are their seedling leaves. They're not their true leaves. So they are not the true leaves of the plant you've sown. So at that point, you don't wish to be potting them on yet. They're still too young, too vulnerable, and you need to leave them much longer. They will eventually begin to get their true leaves, and as you can probably see here, some of these seedlings right in the centre of the 2 seedling leaves are starting to get what are their true leaves. But these are still too small to pot on at this time. But now is a good time when they're at this point to check them, thin them, so you are kind of in these modules only want 1 or 2, ensuring there's spaces between them so that air can get around, they'll have enough nutrients, they get enough water. Whereas if you've got like this one here, you've got about 3 in one, 4 in one module, I wouldn't say I would keep those 4. So you need to be thinning them out. So taking out the weaker ones and keeping the 2 stronger ones. And the same here, I've got nearly 5 in one module, very close together. If I was to leave all those, they'd get too big. Some of them wouldn't get enough light, they wouldn't get enough water between them, there wouldn't be enough nutrients in this module for them, and I'm putting them at risk of losing all of them. So I'm just going to thin them, and by thinning them, it is just literally taking out the weaker ones. So grabbing it, just gently pull it out, and as you can see, it's got a tiny little root. Not much there, easily breakable, but not ready for potting on. So I'm just going to take one more out of here to ensure these are spread out well. And there we go. So I will leave it at that. 2, again, in one place. So do have a look at your seedlings and try and thin them out. You want good spacing between each one. That makes it easier to pot them on when it comes to needing to pot them on. But also it ensures that each individual one is getting enough food, it's getting enough water, and it's getting enough light. Those are the 3 key things a seed needs. So do check them. Obviously there are sometimes points when actually the seeds don't even germinate. I mean, as you can see in this tray, most have all germinated, but there are 2 modules, none of them have come up yet. Doesn't mean they won't, it just might mean they're a bit slower. So as I said in the previous video, just give them time. Seeds can take anything from 7 to 28 days. After the 28 days, if they are still not really showing any signs, then it may be that they aren't going to germinate. And that can be for a major amount of reasons. It could be the weather, it could be the watering, it can be the nutrients in the soil. They may just be bad seeds. But don't give up at the first hurdle. Do have another go, always. So these seedlings, as I've shown you, aren't quite ready. They will be in a few weeks, but they're not quite there yet. But I've got some other seedlings here that I sowed as well, quite a few weeks ago now. These are aquilesias, and as you can see, these are a lot more bigger, bushier. They've got their true leaves, but what's telling me that they do need now more nutrients and they needed to be moved on is that actually the leaves are starting to change colour. So they're starting to lose kind of all their goodness, meaning that these modules now have not got any more nutrients in for that seedling. It needs a pot of its own, it needs space, and it needs some more nutrients. As you can see, they're nice and bushy, they're nice and big, which is telling me they are pretty much a mini little plant and they are ready for potting on. So we're going to have a go at doing that. Sometimes the roots will show through the bottom, which actually if you look really carefully, there are very white fibrous roots coming through. That's another telltale sign they're ready to move on. So when it comes to potting them on, you need to think about your pot size. So for these aquilesias, they're in modules of this size. I'm going to go to sort of the next pot size up so that they've got plenty of room to spread their roots and get that little bit bigger. That may mean that in a few weeks' time, I have to pot them on again into an even bigger pot. It may be that actually they're quite happy in this pot over the winter. So, once you've found your pots, again, like I've said before when potting on, if you fill the bottom of the pot with some stones or grit or broken crockery, whatever, just to help with the drainage, which I have, I've got little stones in here. I'm then going to fill the pot with some compost. Again, not right to the top, just below the top, just so there's that little lip. Right, and then you need to get your seedlings out. Now these are in modules, so they're in little modules on their own, little plug plants if you like. So they may actually just come out quite easily. If you push the bottom of their tray and grab the little seedling, and there we have it. And that's one plant. Now he came out quite easy. He's quite wet. He's obviously been watered well today, but that's one seedling. And as you can see loads of fibrous roots this thing has put on. But he is ready now for a pot of his own to get even bigger. So with just 2 fingers, make a hole in the soil you've put in. Put him in. Don't push it too hard because you'll break those fibrous roots. Cover with a bit more soil on top. And that's it. He will settle into that pot once he's been watered. Make sure you label him so you remember what they are. And that's it. If they're not in modules like this and you need to get them out, so say you've got them in a big tray and they're all spread about the tray, to get the seedlings out, I generally just use 2 tools. Now you can use plant labels, you can use anything really. And it is just literally getting around where that little plant is, just gently, just prising him up from the soil. And there, that got that out quite easily. And it would do the same if it was in a pot on its own. If you have to handle the plant or the seedling, try and always handle it by a true leaf. You know, just gently if you have to handle it. If you can do it without handling, brilliant. Obviously this one has actually got 2 in it. You can see there are 2 plants. So I'm actually going to prise these 2 apart just gently, putting my thumbs between them and just prising them apart just gently. And as you can see, each one has got a massive root ball to it. And again, they'll go into individual pots on their own. So fill in the pot with the soil, making a hole in the middle with my fingers, putting the plant in, backfilling with a little bit more soil. Some plants are a lot more forgiving than others when it comes to potting on. And it's just knowing what you've grown. You know, in the springtime, sweet peas, beans, they don't like root disturbance. So, it may be that actually you set the seed in a big pot so that you haven't got to disturb the roots so often. Aquilesias are quite forgiving. They don't mind root disturbance. You're not going to kill them by doing this. And that's it really. Then do your whole tray. These are all ready. So I'm going to pot them all into individual pots. And in a few weeks' time, as I say, this plant will fill this pot. He will be a lot bigger. He will highly likely be rooting from the bottom, and he will be ready for more space then. And it will be that I will be potting him on again. And as I say, our seedlings are all germinating, so in the next few weeks I will be potting those all on. A lot of them are for our winter baskets and our winter tubs, so wallflowers, pansies, violas, bellis, and some are our biennials, so our foxgloves and those kinds of things. I do hope you learnt something from this, and I do hope you all have a go at sowing some seeds. There's nothing better sense of satisfaction to growing something yourself from seed. So do give it a go, and if it doesn't happen to work for you for the first time, don't give in. Just keep trying, because you'll get there in the end.